Welcome to the Soul Space. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Kim.
And these true life stories are brought to you to inspire growth, healing, and positive changes.
Enjoy.
Okay, Katie, welcome to the Soul Space.
It's good to be.
We're finally getting to meet.
Yeah.
The thing is, I've seen you at loads of events, and we always say when we've spoke over voice notes, we've never actually met.
Yeah.
I did have a little feeling though. The first time I seen you was actually at Soul Revolution last year.
Yeah.
And you caught my eye because you had some mad leopard print trousers on, and I loved them. And then I've seen you at other events, and I was like, oh, I felt like I'm going to connect with this lady, and then it never happened. And if I'm honest, I'll share something quite vulnerable with you. Because I was new to going out without drinking, because it's been it's been a bit of a ongoing sort of thing for about a year, but then finally the last 6 months I feel like that demon's put to bed now with the alcohol.
Yeah.
But it was quite new to me going out socialising.
Yeah.
And I just found I'd get a little bit intimidated.
Yeah.
You know, when I was out, if I'd seen other girls or out, I'd be like, oh, go to approach them and then be like, oh no, they're busy or they're with other people and things like that. So I'd sort of stay like on my own, and I was still not quite there till recently with even, like I shared on a podcast, with dancing, you know, without, it made me feel quite sad when I thought, I've never danced sober. And loads of women had, except for when I was a child.
Yeah.
And I thought I used to be a dancer when I was a kid, but that was before life happens.
Yeah.
And then I was like, where does that go?
Yeah.
So I've just got better the last couple of months now where I'll go up and chat to people and introduce myself.
Yeah.
But I always had a feeling we'd connect at the right time. So, and thank you I know you've drove down, so thank you for that. But what we do on the Soul Space, so we tend to tell a little bit of your soul story, but what you feel you want to share on that is up to you, or what you feel is relevant. And then we just talk about generally any challenges you might have faced in life, and what practices you've used to help yourself.
Yeah.
And then we like to go into what you do now to help others.
Yeah.
So I think it's always a case of we can only meet people where we've met ourselves. So everyone tends to have a little bit of a story.
Yeah.
So I just think it's nice to sort of have that little flow so people get to know a little bit about you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're from up north, aren't you?
Yeah, Sheffield.
Yeah.
Sheffield born and bred.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a bit about me. So I can really relate actually to what you're saying about dancing.
Yeah.
Kind of was quite a active kid, danced, and worked. My dad was a coach, so I've always been around kind of that inspiring nature of women, and he coached women. So I was in that environment when I was younger, and my path was going where I was rising up as an athlete, and was actually representing Great Britain. I was really grateful at 16, and it was quite challenging though. And at 15, my dad got cancer, and at 17, he passed away. So I believe that from a young age, I experienced loss, especially being really, really close to my dad, and kind of when I feel like I soul searched from a very young age. It was obviously maybe my destiny anyway. So for me, my dad left me a beautiful message, which was whenever we were younger, like say if we were together in the car, he'd be like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you'd be saying what you want to be. And he'd be like, yeah, that's cool, but you know what you really want to be? You want to be happy. And it was like a big, long message that kind of like dropped in, that I believe that was his gift that he gave me. So I went in search of happiness. And in search of happiness, I guess the pursuit of happiness, you don't necessarily find it as such. So I went through quite a lot of challenges, because I think part of me was very much... I was traumatized from my dad's loss. I did experience him actually die in front of me at a very young age, and I just was that strong individual. Was like, no, that's the way it was meant to be. He fought till the very end, and it wasn't till later on that I realised I'd got the father wound with him not being about, and also with sometimes how things were when I was younger. So that kind of like set me on a path where eventually, fast forward quite a few years, but my path started when I started getting more into this work when I was 2015, because I had more of a physical breakdown, because I'd always been the athlete. I went into bikini competing, which has its light and its shadow. Its light was I experienced amazing things, got my body to an amazing shape, but it was also challenging. It was on my body, and I got to 2015 and my body just said no. And I had a business at the time, so I had a gym that I was running solely on my own, and everything just started crumbling down because my body just said no, and I got adrenal fatigue, but I didn't know what was the matter with me, and I just kept pushing through, and that's what set me on the path of just being like, what I've always known I can't do anymore. And I really struggled to even get up to run the business and whatever, and I was like, I have to do something different. And that was when I personally started looking holistically and got a coach myself, which from there changed my life, and now that's sent me on from there on a big path of this work.
And what was your coach? So what did you start with? What practices was it?
So, and it's what I actually do now as well. So holistic mindset coaching. So she works a lot with what they call kind of like ego education. So exactly that, working with the inner child, working with the father ego, the mother ego. So we're able to then parent ourselves, because I'd had that father figure not there anymore. And I didn't know how to father myself. And that was a big reason I was pushing myself to the absolute limits. And what I was had to relearn a lot of a different way of looking after myself and being kinder to myself. So that's holistic mindset coaching that I did, and then I loved it, and I got such an impact myself to be able to really understand myself. And I was like, I want more of this, so I studied to do holistic coaching in 2018, and now I'm just on to my level 7, so it's ongoing, because for me, when you're a coach, you need a clear vessel, and so I commit to my own work and my own kind of making sure I'm a clear vessel for my clients and that side.
Yeah, so, and it's definitely true, because I know some people have approached me, or it's not their fault, it's just, it triggers people sometimes, and I've had people say, oh, you don't have to not drink alcohol to work in holistics or wellbeing, you don't have to, it doesn't make you better at it and stuff. And I used to say, look, I'm not... everyone's different, because some people as well may not have had an issue around alcohol. I had a very bad relationship with alcohol.
I can relate.
And so for me, it was an issue on my work, because personally, firstly, I work with people in recovery, and I wasn't comfortable with going and doing Reiki or breath work on people whose main battle is addictions and alcohol when I went out and drank it the weekend. That didn't sit right with me. Yeah. So that made me feel not authentic, which is going to affect my work. Yeah. Also, the more work you do on yourself and you're around people, I started to realise, actually, I'm not much different. It started to highlight my relationship with alcohol. So I was like, okay, I have actually got a little bit of an issue myself. Yeah. And just with things naturally, for me, it's about your vessel. And there's no doubt in the world that alcohol, it closes your third eye, and it leaves us very open, in my opinion, to, parasites, lower energy stuff. So my intuition got a lot stronger once I gave up alcohol, which then helped my work progress. Yeah. So to me, it did make a big difference. Yeah. And I just think, even to look after ourselves physically, some of this work can be draining on the body. So you've got to make sure, like you say, you're looking after your vessel. Yeah. So for me, it did make a difference. So for yourself, did you find your lifestyle had to change a lot?
Absolutely, because my heart can sit with your heart, because that was my avenue that I chose to escape. Yeah. Was alcohol. So I wouldn't say, I don't know, what's the continuum of, is it a problem? Who knows? Is it a problem to you? If it turns out a problem to you, it's the problem to yourself. Like, how can we ever judge that on?
Yeah.
But for me, that was my, that was, especially because I was brought up around alcohol. My dad loved a drink. And so for me, that was my coping tool until probably, I mean, it started to drop in, but I think our generation, we didn't know any different. And then when you do, like, I can totally relate to you. It's been a steady process of me removing alcohol out of my life. And now I might have the odd, I do love a beer. So I have this really kind of balanced relationship with it now, but I never thought that would happen. If you'd have rewind 5 years ago, I would have never thought that would be the case. Like, it's actually one of the things that I'm most proud of, because to not be controlled by alcohol, or be able to go out and, like you say, be able to step into that energy of being able to really find your inner confidence because you're not escaping with alcohol, that's powerful for us to do. But going back to what you said about, I can relate, I've only got benefits from removing that, because you become, like, when I'm channeling for clients, when I'm doing my sessions, like, for me, I'm of service. So that is my biggest why now, is like, I want to be the clearest vessel to be able to serve to the highest capacity. Because, as I say, like, my boss is the energy of the universe, and I want to be able to serve to the best capacity. So that, it feels different, doesn't it? Like, when you no longer have that in your life anymore, and you can be clear.
And mine was similar. I tried for a little bit with the just having one beer now and again, but that was just never going to be the path for me, because I'm such an all or nothing person, which serves me well in my work. But there's other times in my life, as in with alcohol, in relationships, that all or nothing hasn't served me. So it was just accepting this wasn't a battle I was going to really win. If I had won, that left me in a vulnerable place. But again, that was over a 2 year, 2 years really to get to that point. It wasn't overnight, but it was the little changes. And then I thought, actually, it was actually after my last, I done a Cambo, like, lunar cleanse, where I'd done 3 in a month working. And I asked for a lot of help around, I want to finally get to the bottom of this. And it did work, where I do feel now that that's sort of it for me now with it. But I have got other friends that literally they might a couple of times a year if they're on holiday. But I tried that one and it didn't work out. But also getting back to what we're saying as well about it being our coping mechanisms because of what we've grew up around, I also think, do you feel going through a grief at such a young age that in the Western world as well, we're not very good at dealing with grief?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not... Yeah, I mean, we're not taught that, are we? And so it's very an individual process for people. And for me, my choice of way was avoidance. Or actually, I didn't know I was doing that. I didn't know I took on, the only thing I had left was the beliefs and what my dad shared with me. So it was just like constantly I was like, I'm strong. I always remember him saying, like, don't cry, like, I'm going to be okay. I mean, that's one of the inner child wounds, isn't it? Don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about. But more of that sharing. And I just felt like I had to be strong for everybody, really. So I believed I was dealing with it in the best way possible. And I think there can be so much, it's a lot of my work that I do is because I've experienced it, and in many other ways as well, helping people with grief. But I find that a lot of the time there's other facets around grief that we have to work on before we come to the core of grief. But these are the things that we're not taught, and we have to find our way. And
the things around it. I always find when I'm working with people, and just in general, what always intrigued me was around the whole trauma, because I think what people confuse, and what I used to as well, is obviously we have traumatising events throughout our life, but that isn't the original trauma wound. And the best way I seen it explained was, you know, before your traumatising event, your trauma already sort of set the stage for how you were going to deal with that, though. Because for me, it was like my drinking escalated when my best friend passed, but other people lose people and don't turn to alcohol. You know, other people have a breakup, or, you know, they go through something, abuse, certain things, and they don't turn to drugs and alcohol. So it was, the best way I seen it explained was, that's when you go back to the inner child, and the pre-6 conditioning has then shown you how you're going to react to trauma. So that's, I would say to people, it's not to say something in your 30s can happen and it's traumatising, but you've got to think about how you handle it. That's the bigger picture of it, because some people will go through grief and sit and cry in front of everyone every day about it and share. Whereas other people will be like, I'm the strong one of the family, which was always me as well. So I wouldn't, I'd hide away if I needed to cry. So later on, after doing, you know, some shadow work and some things, I could see where that came from. But at the time, you don't understand that. I thought I was doing the right thing. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about, because I don't think a lot of people quite understand sometimes what we mean by, you know, the father wound. And I see a lot of women in the masculine energy, and they don't realise they're in it. I was one of them. And then started a big battle then, where I sort of felt like my masculine and my feminine were against each other then. So that it went even worse then. So we'd highlighted, I was in my masculine in my coaching. So I did coach, Brian was my mentor, you know, breathwork Brian.
Amazing guy.
So Brian was my mentor. So then he was like, oh no, Kim, this has escalated, because now I've got you battling the two. Because I'd come back the week later and gone, I've worked really well on it, Brian. I'm telling him stuff. And he's like, oh no, you haven't quite got it, Kim. Because now it's like your masculine's your enemy. And I was trying to force myself to be out dancing, and I'll beat this masculine while still obviously being very in my masculine. So I know you've done a beautiful post once, I think I seen about it, about the father wound. Because also the father wound can be very present without actually physically losing your father.
Absolutely,
and, you know, we've got the mother wound as well. But yeah, just... if you just wanted to explain a little bit about what it actually sort of can mean to be in your masculine, or what people can do to help that.
So I think the first thing to recognise is that society and collectively, we live in a very masculine world in this point of now. So in other words, what does that mean? Well, if you think about, I mean, probably this still is celebrated, that hustle mentality, and the masculine is in the doing. The masculine is about, it comes from, I mean, so if we explain the shadow side and the light side, okay? So the light side of the masculine is being able to approve of yourself, being able to acknowledge, and all those things. And that's not always something that we are taught, whether there's the masculine in us life, or maybe just not emotionally present. So we often find what we do is the shadow side, which is like dismissing and critical. Like as women, we can be so critical of ourselves and dismiss just who we are as essence and all that side. So in terms of like, naturally, women have just been so in their masculine because of how society is today. And it's being celebrated, you know, like the woman that's got... She's doing everything. She's doing all the roles. Like, look how she's got everything together. When probably behind doors, she's probably on the essence of a burnout, but we've celebrated that, like, look how she's sorted the kids, she's got a business, she's got whatever, but like we've not really celebrated the feminine energy of just being. And in flow and all those things. And a woman at her full higher self is, we're connected. We've got as intuition. We can flow. We're in creative. We're the one that gets the downloads and the ideas,
Yeah.
and then we have the ability. That's the thing that what I hear what you're saying is, when we're two in that energy, that's when we're not moving forward, because we can just flow about in the field and what have you.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely brilliant what you've said, because I can totally resonate. Is you go too far one way, and it's actually having that beautiful union and relationship of these balanced energies, of being able to acknowledge, being able to lead your life in the way that is the capacity for you, but also being able to flow and trust. And it is a constant
Yeah.
it's like, it's not like if anybody turns around and say they've got it sorted, I'm like, okay, like,
Yeah.
tell me how. It's the constant flow of feeling each day, like, where have I been today? Have I been more in my masculine?
Yeah.
Have I been more in my feminine? What do I need? And it's really been able to juggle, but I don't really like the word juggle. It's to balance those
Yeah.
parts of us, because I think there was a period of time which I kind of recognise where everything did go a bit more towards the feminine, which I think sometimes is just that pendulum thing. It's
Yeah.
like, and probably that was what you was experiencing.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I have to be in the feminine now. And
Yeah.
it's like, and then it's like, no, we've got to get this beautiful balance of
It's like
of
a
the
dance
two.
between the two.
Yeah, and it's a constant, like, I haven't got it sorted. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I absolutely know that I honour my feminine more than I've ever done in my life, because I felt the brutalness of being in my masculine, which is what I shared a bit ago. It's like 2015 of, like, my body was like, I'm going to stop you because you're not stopping, because I was so in my masculine, competing, doing the bikini competing, running a business, trying to hold it all together, that part. My body went, absolutely no. So I kind of, what I would say is, the universe was like, I'm going to stop you so you can recalibrate. And that's from that moment, from 2015, knowingly and unknowingly, starting to really understand more how I can invite the feminine energy, or let's just call it just the more being and being in flow, and actually, when it really boils down, resting.
Yeah.
I
Stillness.
didn't know how to rest, and still to this day, if you was to say, do I find it harder to get stuff done or to actually rest? Sometimes I find it harder to rest, but I'm learning. And this is what I often share, like, with the women that I work with. It's individual and unique to us all, like what that looks like, and where people are, because we're all got a different kind of balance of us feminine and masculine energy.
You see more with the women you work with, though, that women are more in the masculine, and that's where things arise? Or what do you think can be if people are more in the feminine?
It's interesting that you just shared that, and what's come to me to say is, yes, I used to. So I had a lot of women that were definitely in their masculine, and I still do now to a degree. But we attract what we are, don't we? So I do feel that a lot more of the women now, I am noticing there's more balance than there ever has been, which has just actually made me kind of sit and go, oh,
Because
that's quite good. There's a mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I notice it straight away, like, as you probably do. Like, you, if it's something that has come into your field that you're working on and exploring that masculine energy that we know that we're in, and the wanting to invite the feminine more, you can notice it in people, can't you? You can.
Yeah, you see it in yourself. Like I say, it doesn't happen now, but I catch it a lot sooner now, and I don't battle it either.
Yeah.
So it's more like, okay, let's learn about ourselves. Let's see what's going on. Why are you more in your masculine this week, Kim?
Yeah.
So I'll sit and talk to myself.
Yeah.
I'll be like, which sort of wounded, or, my inner child, I don't even look at it as wounded now, because I had to sort of flip that, because then I got a lot into that energy of trying to fix myself.
Yeah.
And, you start treating yourself like you're broken. And I'm like, no one's actually broken. It was just, I didn't know certain things back then that I do now. We're just, it's more, we're growing, aren't we? But I more look at things with love now. I even was shown a really nice image in a meditation from the grandmother. So even when I used to do treatments on people, I look back now and I'm like, oh, so masculine. But even if I was doing a Reiki and I was removing, and I was always shown, remove back to the earth, send it back to Mother Earth. But it was always very quiet. I'd be spinning people and send. And you know what? The grandmother come through to me once in like this meditation, said, "Can you stop sending everything, all the parasites and all this stuff back to me with anger and forcefulness?" She says, sometimes all the light workers, it's going in like you are attacking things or this is the enemy, but that's doing the opposite of what you should be doing. So the way we beat all these things is with love. We're the opposite. We do everything with love and light. So any darkness or any attachments or low energy stuff people have got needs to be treated with love and sent home with love or wherever it's come from. So when we go in with that, she said, I feel like the light workers at the moment, everyone's gone into this like battle mode, and everyone needs to stop. She was like, way we raise the vibration of this planet and the way we all have fun, laugh, dance, get round each other, love each other, be kind to each other and your clients, and not this big, we've got to all get moving and we've got to do. So she said it's giving off the wrong energy. And it was as if she sort of said, I've got enough to do, I've got that. You just don't need to do that. I need everyone being happy. And it made me change how I even looked at stuff in myself. So sometimes if I was doing a little bit of Reiki on myself then, or I felt something in my stomach or a bit of anxiety had crept in, I would talk to it then with a bit of love, like, which little Kim's this coming from? What's going on today? And just do a little bit of womb healing on myself, or, it just switched everything for me. So I felt like I was going into, I struggled to be the nurturer with clients because I was that masculine energy and my breath work's always very like, release. And I look back, it was all very intense. Whereas now, because I've learnt to mother myself, I can be a bit more nurturing. And I always put the block up of, it's because I haven't got children, because I don't want children, I'm not a mother, I'm not maternal, used to be the word. And I remember Brian, a few people says, you're not maternal, Kim. That's funny, because you've got about 20 people you're helping and looking after. You're in a rehab working with loads of men that I'm sure will look at you like a caring maternal person. So we need to flip that. I don't find, have you ever found that? Have you struggled with the mother?
I mean, I'm sat here nodding with you because I'm just like, totally resonating. And what makes me look down is like, this is where I've gained a beautiful relationship with Kuan Yin, and Kuan Yin is the universal mother.
Oh, okay.
And
so I don't know a lot about that.
She's comes through in all my work, and to be honest, I've just found her fascinating. Found her in a Reiki session.
You just drawn to in a Reiki session.
And realised that she's come through in so much of like my work before I understood, and then now. But that's what is so interesting that I brought her, and I feel like she must be working through us right now. Because she's classed as the universal mother, and it's not about being a mother, it's that energy, and I can relate, like, as I've stepped more into my feminine energy, I've really had a like compassion and acceptance for how much mother energy I share. And every time I sit with a client, like, it's being able to have that compassionate energy, and like you're saying, that loving energy. And I mean, there's a difference between mothering and holding that feminine mother energy. There's a difference because we hold it, and we then able to have that energy so someone else can then step into their energy, because you have to be careful when you're with clients that you don't, because an experience with what I do with holistic coaching is people can turn you into their mothers and turn you into their fathers, and you have to hold that energy to make sure that you are be mindful of that and what have you. But I digress. But I totally resonate with what you're saying. The only way is compassion. Like, and where
Grace keeps being a word that keeps coming to me lately.
And
treat people and yourself with grace.
Yeah, and that is Clonyan as well, with grace, compassion, feminine energy.
Maybe she's been coming in and I haven't known.
yeah, and so I can really relate to what you're saying about bringing in and recognising that we hold that mother energy like within us, because it's part of when we step more into our feminine energy that can come through in that healthy, quite powerful way as well. Yeah,
and it might actually be softer. It was a recent retreat I went to, that's what was coming through. Like, just be softer, Kim, gentle, softer.
Yeah.
But you need to be that for yourself, don't you? Because again, it's that mirror.
Yeah.
So, and I think we spoke about on a voice note, didn't we? That it come through to me simply, and it was like, everyone, men and women we work with, everyone's just a little boy or girl that wants their mum deep down. But then it was also on the flip side of that, I realising that also goes for our parents as well. That our mums or someone wanted their mums, and that cycle continues, dependent what family people. Some people have got families where everyone's very emotionally available, some people aren't. But again, it's decided that sort of cycle breaks. You try and break it. And I think looking at people like that changed my perspective on a lot of people now. When I look at people, I'm like, that helps me give them compassion. Because you're just someone that wanted your mirror, and vice versa. And someone said to me this weekend, I think it was Jay actually, a weekend, sometimes it's just looking at our parents as well. Stop looking at them like parents.
Yeah, I was going to share that, To
look at them like friends.
Well, what I would say is, like, if we can have more compassion towards the fact that our parents have got an inner child that's sometimes kicking off too. And they don't come with a manual, in that sense. And when you start to really understand, like, inner child work and those parts, you can recognise, you're like, oh wow, like how we are all kind of on a journey to help that inner child that's inside us. And when you can look and see where people are just doing their best, and sometimes their inner child may be running the show, and if we can all have that more compassion, but also accountability and acknowledgement for those parts as well. It's not about, like, dismissing, but there's a hell of a lot more compassion when we realise that a lot of the time we're all just these little inner kids that are trying his best doing life.
So
and as parents included in that too.
Well, it's because I hear a lot being around the addiction community, and I don't know why they've got addictions. They've got no trauma. They were brought up with mum and dad that's still together and this, that. And first I always say to people, how do you know? Did you live with them when they were kids? Because really, we don't know nothing about no one.
And one person's trauma is another person's walk in the park. Like, because we only have the perception of what we have from our environment, from what we have seen, what we have heard. So who are we to ever judge what someone else's trauma is? It's like, it just comes back to, again, I think there's a theme here, it's like compassion towards, like, you just don't know.
And for yourself, because normally the main people I hear saying it is talking about themselves. That's what makes me a bit sad, because they'll go, I don't know why I'm like this, because I've had no trauma, I've had no this. And then as you start working on, you're like, you actually have. And like you say, it's everyone's trauma looks different and feels different. But your inner child is have. So but again, it's that compassion for yourself, isn't it? And then that naturally flows out to others. I mean, so if we could talk a little bit about your work now, because I didn't even know. I'm so interested she came in and we went on to that conversation. So it's rapid transformational therapy, is that what you do?
That's one part of my work, but a huge part of my work. So I kind of combine my holistic mindset coaching, which is basically kind of ego education, getting you out of your own way from a lot of what we've been talking about, like understanding where we are within as mother ego, father ego, child ego in self. But my work is very simple. Like, I have this ability to be able to get into people's energy and simplify it by them bringing normal life things to me and being able to use these tools in everyday life. The other part of what I do, because I become fascinated, because I've been a personal trainer for 20 years. Like, I just do it briefly now, but fascinated with people's behaviours and how people often, they may change and make big changes in their life, like lose a lot of weight or whatever it is that they do, but often sometimes regress back. And so I became fascinated with the subconscious. And so that's where I spent a lot of my studying and a lot of my time. And so that's where I looked for what modality should I use to be able to get into the subconscious. So I chose rapid transformational therapy. So I studied that and completed it in 2020 and 2021. And that has just changed my life massively, because a lot of what we are experiencing, our emotions, our behaviours, our feelings, our then actions, are what is stored in our subconscious. So like a lot of the women that might come to me are struggling with confidence, or struggling with not feeling enough, or I deal with everything from having a big powerful changes with like OCD and those parts. But a lot of the reason is because of the root. We've got to get to the root cause, and this can be because of like experiences that you've had really young. And if you're then trying to work on confidence over here in your adult, but you've actually got files and memories that are stuck there, which are like what I call glitches, like viruses, like within, like you'd have if you had your phone, a glitch, a virus. If we don't get to those, then we're just going to be in what I call glass confidence, or we're just going to work around it in a way that's not going to actually allow us to rewire and reprogram. And that's what I do with the rapid transformational therapy, is we reprogram and rewire the subconscious. And it blows my mind. I mean, I've experienced it. I had to for the training, which was so grateful for, but it totally changed my work unbelievably, to be able to add these two ways of what I call more conscious coaching, so having the tools to tackle everyday life, but then also getting to the bottom of, like, in the subconscious, getting to the root cause, to be able to then shift people more quickly than I've seen with combining the two. It still fascinates me, if I'm honest. I'm still quite in, even though I do the work and I see these sometimes miraculous transformations, I'm still like a little kid in awe. Like, I just literally, like, when they come back to me, like, I've just had a lady that I've been working with OCD, and she's had OCD since her dad passed away, like 10 years. And to see her free of what once was something that she just coped with until it got too much, like, I'm just like, wow.
How long do people tend to work? Is there a set time they work with you, or is it you see how you go?
Yeah, well, what's the fascinating thing is that time is kind of decreasing. So normally now, my rapid transformational therapy process is about 6 weeks to 2 months in that. Obviously, I've got people, everyone's degree of what they're coming to is different. So it depends on what they're experiencing with how long they work. But rapid transformational therapy can work within around about 4 to 6 sessions.
That's soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these are things, like you say, people have battled their whole lives and will go. Because it's like I always say with around talking therapies and stuff, which we spoke about a lot on this podcast, and I think they're amazing. But we always say, and a few people, that you can only sometimes talk about what you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know it yet. Like with me is something that come up for me was something that I didn't realise was there. So if I would have done talking therapies, I would have never been able to bring that up because I didn't know it was there.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this is something you carry and you don't know what your root cause is.
Yeah.
So sometimes it takes that little bit deeper work and like you say, it's also learning to, once we realise what it is, well, okay, we know what our defects are or our shadows, but what do we do now?
Yeah.
Like, where do we reprogram it? Because I got to a point in myself where I knew what all these wounds were, but then it was like, but then what? Where do I go?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's when we need to find what we're working with.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting what you said, because I used to do boxing coaching, and it was the same where you see people and we all make, and I've been guilty of it myself, you make changes but they don't last.
Yeah.
Because it's always on something, for me it was always on something external.
Yeah.
So like we'd be aiming, I'd work with women and myself would do it for a holiday, for a wedding. I would be doing really well in things if I was happy in my relationship or this, and then take any of them factors away, things would crumble.
Yeah.
So whereas now I feel like the work I'm still doing, but I do, is if I know now if a relationship didn't work or was on my own, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
I know if my work wasn't going amazing, I'd still be okay, because I'd be like, oh, well, okay, that's not, I need to relook at what I'm doing, and it would just all be okay. Whereas before, things like that would completely make me crumble. So I think looking at, like you're saying, the root causes and making long-lasting changes. I suppose that's where the transformational word comes in, isn't it?
Yeah.
That these things are long-term.
Yeah.
I love that. And so does the diamond method and the this is me that you do, does that all come into that? Was that
So it's
separate?
like, so the diamond method is a combination of like having where I'm using the conscious tools of, like, in other words, like you've just explained, the tools that we need to just have in his backpack to be able to get on with life and know that we can come back to those tools. And then it's a combination with getting to the subconscious and understanding how we move through that, but then like a combination of bringing in the, like, taking his power back, speaking his truth, all those different elements that I kind of do that bring it into the diamond method. But the diamond name came from, I run a transformational empowerment program for women back in 2017, where it was specialising like the mind and the body, and they went through this amazing transformation program, and then at the end, for charity, they stepped down the catwalk and in front of their friends and family and showcased their kind of body and mind, which I'm hoping to bring back soon, but we'll see. So it came from Shine Bright Like a Diamond, and then I looked at the analogy of a diamond, and in Greek mythology and in Latin, the diamond means to be untamable, to be unapologetic, and to be unalterable. And I was like, well, that's a woman at her best, you know, like in that sense, and that all women have many, many facets, and the more that we work on kind of polishing and cleaning the inside, in other words, the mind and the soul and all that part, the more that we shine out to the world. So that's where the diamond has come from. And obviously a diamond made under pressure, but it kind of came through from that energy. Yeah.
And it's true, isn't it? Because I think you'll see it when you're working with women, how it's amazing how, and men, both of these, how much healing work takes years off people. And I actually call people at the end of my session, I was call it the breathwork glow. Yeah. Because I see it. And I seen someone the other day, and they said, Kim, you look like about 5 years younger. And I look back on pictures and I'm like, oh, that girl's carrying so much. And I think when you see people, you see a physical transformation, but not all being about, you know, gym and weight and different.
It's different.
They just physically look.
Yeah.
And men as well. When I see men and you look at their before pictures, or people will share some stories, and your partner's done it, where you've seen them 5 or 6 years before and you're like, wow, especially when you only know people as they are now. And
Yeah.
it was the same. Someone at a retreat, they added me on Facebook, and they seen some pictures, and they were like, I said, that was only like 2 years ago, and they were like, oh,
Yeah.
they even said that girl looks really lost, and I was like, well, she was. But they even transform, I think, your skin, your glow. And you must see it with women, how they hold, like I always used to sit very hunched, and I think even how you hold yourself changes, doesn't it, when you start going on these journeys. Wanted to talk a little bit about, we've got to mention the jungle. That's when I first started watching all his stories. I had jungle FOMO. I was like the jungle queen, Katie. I got a corner because I kept seeing. And a little bit about, we're like a little love story as well, so we've got to mention that as well. So tell us a little bit about, how did you meet and your partner and come across Little Earth and stuff? Was that you just going to retreat days, or...?
Yeah, so
if you don't mind, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a beautiful story, to be honest. So I got the call to do a deep retreat at Little Earth, and I didn't have a clue what this Little Earth was. I mean, it was through a friend that you see how the universe starts aligning things through. Went on a drum making a workshop, met a lady there, and she said, I'm going to this retreat. And I was like, cool, I'm ready, I'll come with you. And I remember being really nervous about actually going, and I do a lot of manifestation. It's a lot what I teach with ladies as well. And I was kind of wondering whether to back out. I was a bit like, oh God, like, is this the right thing? Anyway, went on my morning walk with my beautiful little dog, Nellie. I was like, universe, give me a sign that I'm meant to go to this retreat. And saw a white feather, and obviously did the whole thing. I need a sign. And one of my big signs that people follow me is a ladybird. Anyway, cut a long story short, going on this walk, and clearly I just looked down, and as bright as day, the biggest ladybird you can imagine had landed on my thigh, and my whole being was like, okay, so my human is having a kick-off here, but my higher self knows I'm meant to go to this retreat. So this retreat was at Little Earth, arrived there, and but it was just like, what is this place? Do you know, like, this is like something from another dimension. Do you know what I mean? And I actually manifested that as well, because I knew I wanted to go and experience the jungle, but I just wasn't ready for that. So this felt good for me to do something that was not as dramatic. It was like, I'll go to this beautiful retreat centre. So anyway, so that's where I landed at Little Earth and met a man. But at that point, we were just these two individuals on this retreat. Didn't really kind of spend that much time, really. But eventually, like through a long friendship, kind of got together.
So you had it. So it wasn't instant. You had a friendship first.
No, not for quite a while actually. Because what was beautiful is from that retreat, I met what I still call my soul family now. So we were just going to like Exhale Conscious Bar and socialising. So all this group of friendship just kind of started growing. It wasn't till I like looked back at my journal that I'd wrote before this retreat, putting the intentions was. And I clearly wrote it. I put, I'm ready to invite a man into my life. And he's called bloody a man, isn't he?
That's even just twigs.
And I just looked at this journal and was like...
Definitely the queen of manifestation.
My word. I was like, if the universe is not trying to say to me, you're a really good manifester, we're trying to throw these things in your face because you are meant to be serving and sharing that this is the way.
Not everyone would always use that word, and they might say, I'm ready for a relationship, I'm ready to meet someone.
And it was all about healing the masculine and all that part, but underneath was, you know what, I'm ready. And I even remember saying it going to wild swimming because I was like, you know what, I'm really bloody happy on my own. You know, you get to that, you know, you're really at that point, and that's the point where that's when it all starts to unfold. I remember going, I'm really, really, really a bit too happy on my own. I remember saying it, looking up to the sky on my way on my own to wild swimming and saying them words and then journaling on it. And that's when I journaled in the September and went on that retreat in the October. And then give it a couple of months, then obviously
Friendship. And I
we
think
got
it's really
together.
nice it started from a friendship. And I think that's the difference with relationships as well. When you are on a spiritual journey or
Yeah.
self-discovery journey, you're not just romantic relationships as well. All your relationships become real solid foundations
Yeah.
and real
Yeah.
because they're not built on.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that, you know, your old friendships still aren't important, but you just notice the differences.
Yeah.
I think in relationships when alcohol isn't taken away
Yeah.
and you're working on yourself and you both can do that together,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. So I think you sometimes get a smaller circle,
Yeah.
but it becomes real solid foundations,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think you go through stages of needing a bit of solitude and a bit of loneliness because you've got to go through the grieving.
I got a little bit too familiar with that though, because
Yeah,
I'd
I
worked
did.
so hard to find it, because at one point I was probably working through like codependency and those parts. I remember like coming out of relationships and being like, oh my God, like what do I do? And like being on your own and realising that there was huge codependency wounds there. And then eventually doing a lot of work, getting up and being like, oh my God, I am literally having a great time with myself.
Yeah.
Like from being actually very much the opposite, like many years before to then. So I actually had to say, I hope I'm not actually blocking myself here, and I need to kind of like rewire the words and the language that I'm putting out to the universe. So hence me going, I'm ready to invite a man into my life. And I still laugh at it now. I still laugh because I didn't realise till after, and I was like, oh my God, because I read the journal and then I went, he's called a man.
I love that. And I love that you manifest it in, because I was talking about this the other day, and I don't know if you find this. I didn't realise till I look back on my old vision boards. And I think this is why I think there needs more education around manifestation and law of attraction, because I think there's a lot of stuff out there that it's misleading. And I actually look back and I think sometimes when people are doing vision boards, or I looked at mine, actually all you've done a board of is what you lack. And it's like a board of lack sometimes rather than a vision board. And I think there needs more guidance on it for people, because sometimes that can really block you from what you're bringing in. And like, for example, I just noticed it on myself that I thought I've never put on a vision board like a home, like by a house, or it's never really been on my list. Whereas a lot of people would put a house. And my partner, for example, he always speaks about it. And it was one reflection between me and him that I thought, so he lost his mum and dad and his brother in a very short time, bless him. And so now he's very, you know, he hasn't got a family home to go back to. So that's really a focus of his. And I used to be a bit like, why do we always have to go on about buying, again, not having that compassion, about buying houses. I'm like, free spirit, I'll go with it. And he said one day, Kimmy, you've got a family home. And I thought, wow, I think because I've always had that security of a home, that on a vision board, the buying my house never seemed top of the priority. But for some people that haven't got that security, that is. But it just made me feel like, oh, actually, though, some people are really, your manifestations can really be coming from a place of lack. So I think there needs to be a little bit more, sometimes, guidance around that. Or if we're really feeling we want to meet someone, but like yours has come in because you've done the work and you were quite happy on your own. So they knew then the codependency wounds have been, looked at. Whereas for some people, they might be thinking, where am I going wrong? I'm just not drawing someone in. So do you tend to do work around manifestation with women as well? And
but it's kind of like really valid what you said is, if we have, like, for example, anything that's happened to us that what I call like boulders in a stream. So this can be things that have happened that means that now we have a story or we have a belief, or trauma or whatever it may be. I call these like rocks or boulders in the stream that are going to get in the way of you being able to be of a frequency and a high vibration to be able to actually manifest what you want, because it's just kind of like it means that the flow's not there and we're not able to reach that higher vibration and frequency. So that's why when you ask me like the diamond method, first of all, it's getting rid of the blocks and getting rid of what is holding I call them sandbags. That means that the hot air balloon can't just rise and go with a high frequency. So that's us. So when we work through those, that's when then we become, going back to that clear vessel, that more of that we've not got things that are affecting us vibration. Because if we are, and this kind of comes back to the feminine and the masculine, it's like if we're too much just in the, oh, I dream this will happen, and we just put the finger out and hope that will then happen, we've got to be in the right frequency and vibration. So that's get rid of anything that's pulling us down, and then it's a constant recalibrating and checking in, am I of that vibration? But then also we have to bring the masculine energy in, which is the law of action. So inspired action, what are we doing to actually bring those things in? So by then when we start to bring all those aspects, my experience is that's when you can experience manifestations that are quicker and of what you're actually wanting.
Yeah, because if you would have let the fear and the human brain that take over, you wouldn't have gone to the retreat.
No,
so then you've blocked
but
that.
I wouldn't have like that. Whereas in my feminine, and I had to choose to go universe. And one thing that I hope I give as a gift to my clients and anyone that I just come along, like I genuinely believe in magic and believe in the universe. And when I say magic, I'm just talking like mini miracles. I see them all the time, like with my clients, and it feeds my inner child to play with those like mini, what I call like signs and things like that. And they're the little things that build your trust. And that's something that I love giving as a gift, that we do these things with my clients that helps them to start trusting even more. Because that's the biggest thing, is getting them, a big part of my work is them trusting that they can make these changes, because I'm not going to make those changes for them. They are the creator of their own life, and they can then move into that trust. And it just, it lights me up when you play with kind of these manifestations and things. Yeah.
So then your manifestation, you did get the jungle eventually.
Yeah, I did, yeah. And I got what, actually, that's interesting, because I did as well, because I didn't want to go on my own. Yeah. I don't know why. I just saw myself.
And the jungle. So everyone definitely needs a few lessons. So
yeah. And I didn't know how I was going to get, like, that is another story. It's not like we planned the jungle and we had this 6-month kind of like, oh yeah,
you guys went quite last minute, didn't you?
Basically, we were with the tribe. And again, I sat in meditation, like with the tribe, and I clearly got the message, you're supposed to go to the jungle. And my human didn't know I was going to make that possible, because it ain't the cheapest, and it ain't. So I was like, how is this going to happen? When you're meant to be somewhere, things start all constrained. So we decided to go 6 weeks before, and then went.
Because it was I think the festival I seen you at, that was when the tribe was over.
Yeah.
So then you just booked to go over, because we've got about 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
So I'd like to finish on the jungle stuff, because I think from what you shared before, even the boat in was a bit of a journey, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that was like, really keep it brief, but definitely taught me the power of prayer. And I mean that with absolute, like.
So we don't want to put everyone off going to the jungle,
I mean that is amazing. It's just amazing. Like you just got to trust. Like if you're meant to be in the jungle, you're going to get there. The universe is going to get you there. But they're on these, let's just say, very basic, like boats, and it started going dark, and I just got this message to move my hand from this bar that was there, even though a man was like, hold on, like make sure you're holding on. But something said, take my hand off this. And I'd done a little prayer because everyone was getting a bit panicky, and I was like, Archangel Michael, surround us in your sapphire blue light of protection and strength, and just get us there safely. And literally within 1 minute, this tree trunk just hit this bar at the side of me, and I was like, oh my word, like I am so, if not my arm would have. But anyway, I lived to tell the tale. I got to the jungle.
How long was you actually in the jungle for? Is it a week?
Yeah.
So this is what they do every September, is it? Or is it always around September?
Around there, it's once a year, July, September.
Yeah, so they open up. So can people go over the 9 months, or is that just when?
Yeah, they can if they're going into dieta.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
they
can
arrange
go in.
to go in.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's sort of a bit like a festival, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all organised. It's incredible. It's amazing.
Different tribes. Is it where more tribes gather together, or is it just their festival?
It's definitely the. I say this sometimes wrong, so excuse me, but Yawanawe village. And they're all of the Yawanawa tribe. So they will be there. That's one village.
Yeah.
People may come from other places because the Valencia is big, and it's their way of partying.
Yeah,
it's their
so
big festival.
Allowed to come in.
Yeah.
And then because I remember seeing your picture, I think when you'd done the Cambo, and I was like, oh, Cambo looks another level out there.
Yeah, they don't muddy colour. Like obviously, I help people when I'm now helping on the retreats, and no one strokes you back there.
No.
Which actually I kind of it makes you find a new level of your own power. Do you know?
Yeah.
You're just in the middle of the forest and you get on with it.
Yeah. So again, it's getting
Mother
that
Nature
power
helps
back
you.
in a different way, isn't it? Because I think it's interestingly what just come into my mind that is like we spoke about earlier with the alcohol and stuff, that where do you define a problem and things. But I think it's anything in life for me, the way it comes to me is if it's an unhealthy power exchange, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So I always say to people, if you're ever, be that a relationship, a job, alcohol, drugs, if you need to use something to make you feel good other than what's inside, that's a bit of a problem. It's an unhealthy power exchange.
Yeah.
And I think what some of these journeys and stuff have helped me with, you've got to get your own power back.
Absolutely, yeah.
To get through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I seen images of Sananga going in and they're just holding your eyes open permanently, I was like, okay, that's another level.
Yeah, it makes you realise your strength and kind of linking into that
What's your
warrior.
favourite part from there, though?
What was my
That's
favourite
probably a hard
part?
question.
Do you know what? Like the ceremonies are amazing, the all the events they do, but sometimes I'm quite simple, and I know this sounds mad, but I remember coming down from where we were staying, and I had some rice cakes with peanut butter. Oh my word! The next minute I'd got 10 kids that were just round me, like going like this for this. So it were beautiful. I'm there like the rice cake peanut butter lady that me being kind of like, so just like, back in that mother energy, soft energy. And I was just giving them all like the kids, like they teach you a lot. The kids out there, they're just having so much fun, laughter, and so it's more like, for me, what do I remember? I remember being so grateful to really experience how they live life and experiencing it from all aspects of like massive freedom, but also they have challenging lives. It's not an easy life at times. Like if you want, like for example, I remember seeing a pig in a boat. Do you know what I mean? If you want meat like that, you have to. That's travelling up the river, you know. You can't, it's not an easy life. You can't order Amazon, you know, and it just arrives. And so it is a different life, but I loved being in the experience of how they, just absorbing and...
How they live.
Yeah.
What do you think is the main thing the tribes taught you? Or what they do so different to the Western world?
That we are the creator. And the more that we have, because they just live their life through the connection to the forest, the connection to the spirits. And I think we're so naive in the Western world and can be so I'm going to say egotistical with actually that connection. If we don't believe it, and I say we, I mean I do. If we don't believe it, we poo-poo it, and they live, breathe it, and you see it and you experience it. So so what have they taught me? Connection to the land, the forest, and connection to Great Spirit, like, because you are in that energy and you feel it. And I learn through experience and feeling. So when you're in that energy, I am actually craving it now. Actually, it's making me like, I want to be back in the energy. Yeah, all being well.
I've put it out there that I'm going, but I'm just waiting. If I'm meant to be there,
that's where we're similar. We're similar. If we're meant to be there,
it'll be the next year. I know I go. I've seen I go, so I've just sort of surrendered to. They'll know when the right time is for me to go. Yeah. But again, I know the timing's coming, because everything at the moment is just drawing me to nature, elements, outdoors, back to real basics. I just spent 48 hours. I went and did a 48-hour fast in the woods on my own.
Wow, amazing.
Spent that, and everything was just so simple. Yeah. Like, I didn't do any big things, or it was just me and some medicines and my happy, and just took it back to basics. And I thought this would be another level in the jungle. But I do trust that, again, the old me would be very forceful about it, and I've gone on a big saving mission and I can make this happen. Yeah. But I don't want my lead up to it to be like that. Yeah. So I'm gonna just hope that I get there in September, but if not, it will happen.
Yeah, it will.
But
divine timing is always at play.
Yeah, it is. Well, thanks for coming on, Katie.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been beautiful.
And what we tend to do afterwards as well, we'll post everyone's social media and things like that, just so if people have heard anything they're intrigued about, they can just pop you a message, can't they? It's mainly Instagram you're on, aren't you?
Yeah, and Facebook. Yeah. So Katie Ford, and it's Coaching with Katie Ford. Yeah.
So we'll share that and stuff below.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
As first conversation has been a powerful one. High five.
That's maybe why it was supposed to be divine timing.
Yeah.